And this one has a little bit of a steering issue. Now you still got your tilt, and this was a fairly common problem with these. Really should have been built better. And to my knowledge, they were built better. I haven't never went and experimented, but I did have a city model Chevy, and I know that it went through a lot, and it never did this kind of stuff. They must have changed something in the later years, after the 70s or whatever, and made it weaker. So you're having issues like this. Anyway, we're going to try to tear into here. Now, I can't see that. A lot of times it's Phillips, but it's probably a little bitty, like a 8mm or American version or whatever in there. So I can't see it. So I'm going to try to take my phone and take a picture of it. Alright, let's see here. That thing's messed up, ain't it? Okay. Always have a bucket to keep your stuff in. Now. Let's take this last one off, because I've already taken the first one off camera. I know you missed all that excitement, but might have been a little too much, so it might have been a good thing that I did it that way. I don't want too much excitement in one day. Alright. Now, something just fell out. Don't know what. Anyway. Oh, come on. Give me a hard time there. Okay. So you got a little hole that that little bump catches. Keeps you from doing that. Anyway, now for the fun part. We have ourselves a little clip here. Now, I don't know if you can see that clip, but there it is. A little clip right here. Okay. So I got to get that off first. Oh, come on. Trying to monitor the camera at the same time ain't that easy to do. Okay, so there's the little clip. Put that in the bucket. Make sure it's locked. Well, that one wasn't tight. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they are not. That one's been off before, I do believe. Now you can get a puller, which I need to get anyway. Alright, let's try this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Depends on how tight they are. Okay. And you bind up on it. Get in a position that you can do that without tearing anything else up like a bunker. Binding up, I'm pushing up. Now I'm going to hit down with it. Now, piece of that fell off, I noticed. That's what you run into with cars old like this. Just never know what's going to fall off of them. You run a big risk when you start tearing into them. Okay. Now, why does it take to take that out? Like the Congress? No, I think I can get out without that. Okay, whatever. There might be a release in here, or it may just walk right out. No, it probably is a release up in there. Anyway, now this is what locks your steering. It probably has a pin on there, it'll probably be pushed in. Yeah, there is a, you probably can't see it, but there is a pin, or not a pin, but a piece of metal ring that holds it on right there. Okay. Will I be able to get it? Probably not. Okay, now I need to push that down. Now they've got tools that you can put on there and all this kind of stuff, but you may not have a tool. So I'm going to take a washer and take the nut to come off of it. I'm going to put it on here. I will grab a second socket. Then I will tighten that back up. Come on, Reggie. We'll just have it hold both sides, since it wants to be a pain in the old gluteus. Alright, now we gotta worry about that. We can work on trying to get it to come off. Okay, folks. Now, again, let me reiterate that you can get tools, pullers, so on and so forth that will do this for you. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. I'm simply doing it this way in case you don't have that tool. I'm trying to show a more basic way of doing it. If you can get the tool, you'll make it much easier on yourself. They've got a little puller tool that's perfect for this kind of stuff. And I would suggest getting it. But, again, not everybody has that. Not everybody has access to it. You may even find it at your parts store under the free tool stuff, you know, where they'll let you borrow tools to work on stuff. Save yourself a headache of having to do all this little tricks that I'm doing here. Okay, you need to come on out of there now. You're just being a pain at this point. Yeah, we all know you're just trying to be a pain. We know what you're trying to do. You're trying to walk right back down in there just to give me a hard time. But I did not let you. Alright, so that's that. That's off of there. And all we needed was an old washer. There's the little part we had to get loose. This is what your horn rides on. Took that off. Now, this is the fun part. This stuff in here. And they had this way back on the 70 model Chevy I had. The plastic stuff that'll break. If you sneeze on it, it'll break. This is what makes your blinker work, what makes it snap back. Be careful when you're taking this off, is what I'm trying to say. This is the part that locks your steering, by the way. See it pull in, push out. It catches on these teeth, and that's how it locks your steering. Alright, let me back over here. Okay, now, where is my flathead screwdriver that I've been using? Pile it on. And I have got to reorganize my tools, man. Okay, do I want to take that off yet? I think I do. I think I do. Don't like it, but I think I do. Yeah, I better take it off. I don't like taking it off. That should come out. There it is. So you have to get that line back up. When you go back in there though, it goes like this. Okay. Now, we've got 3 screws that holds this blinker assembly in. 1, 2. Go ahead and loosen another one up before I take it out in case it tries to break. Oh, and then I need to take this off too, by the way, while I'm at it. That's hazard line. Might as well get that out of the way now before it has a chance to show its butt. And it will. First chance it gets, it'll show it. So, just something to keep in mind there, folks. Alright. Alright, now. Everything's loose. Come on out. Yes. Let me put this back. Well, I can't put that in there. There we go. Get the spring out of here before we lose it. See, it was sitting there loose and did not want to give me a break. Come on. Like I say, be careful when you're pulling, because you'll break these things so easy. It's not even funny how easy they break. There went one of the screws into the Bermuda Triangle. Never to be seen again. You can get slack on the wire at the bottom. I didn't do that. That was my bad. Oh, there's another screw, but I caught it. Now, there is the loose bearing. And then that goes on, folks. And right there's the loose bearing. Right there. All right. Now, I could take the rest of this off just to be doing it, really. I could take the rest of it off. But I want to try to pull this bearing first. And that thing is loose. Man, that bearing is shot. That's the top of the bearing. And then here's the actual bearing. Oh, is that thing really shot? Or is it just too loose? That's an interesting dilemma right there. Now, taking the thing's a little spring load thing that goes in there just like that. Okay, here it is. This is a star tool, or T-tool as some people call them. One or the other. This is the piece that holds in the lock mechanism. See, there it is. If you needed to change your lock, that's how you do it. Try this one then. This one it. When they make these videos on TV, they already have all this stuff lined up. They don't do it like me where I'm just kind of fumbling around. They know what size it needs before they ever start the project. But not me. Well, that would be too easy. Got to keep that excitement level up. Keep you on the edge of your seat. No, I could do that, but the average person is not going to do all that, so that's what these videos are about. Is no, does that mean all my videos are going to be that way? No, but that's what this video is about. Is if the average person was down here trying to work on this, what would they be doing? Which I'm pretty average myself, so falls right in line. Nothing special about me that anybody else can't have special about them. Every positive has its negative. I'm tall, but I don't like ceiling fans. Every time I fall, I have to hear somebody say, "Timber!" Yeah. All kidding aside, being tall is not the big deal that people make out it is. It is not a big deal, let me tell you. Okay, now this will get you because it screws out, but on this end here, you'll break the plastic if you're not careful, especially on older ones, which is what this is. This is a good friend of mine's car. And it's an old car, but he likes it. I can understand that. So we want to do our best, but here's the thing. No matter whose cars it is, if you're going to work on it, do your best. Don't do it just to do it. Too many people these days don't care, don't take no pride in their work. Well, we want to take some pride in our work, even if nobody else knows it. Instead of thinking, hey, I got that done quick, I got that one over on somebody. You know, take pride in yourself. Jeez. If you can't, who else will? Think about it, people. Think about it. If you don't take pride in yourself, who will? Alright, now let's try to fight with this thing. Man, pieces just went everywhere. Which I kind of figured that was going to happen, but still. I don't like it. We'll have to figure that Rubik's Cube out in a minute. Alright. Okay. Got a spring right here. Push it down, turn it. It's out. Now, notice there's another end on it. So you want to make sure you put that end back in it when you put it back together. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. Alright, so that's that. Now, we've got to get these out. Those things are not easy to take out. Again, there's a tool for this. If you want to try to track it down and use it, you might save yourself a big headache. But with a little bit of patience, you can do it yourself. Always pays to have a little bit of patience, people. Have a little bit of patience. Now, you could wring the bolt off in there. So, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It may not work, is what I'm trying to say. You can't just say, hey, that worked for that guy on the video. It'll work for me. Because yours might be a little tighter. You might do it at a little bit slight different angle. You never know. You may not even have to go through all this. It may come right out for you. But point is we just don't know. Like this one right here. It don't want to come out. So there we go, it's out now. Alright, so that's out, folks. Now, this will come off, in theory. That's the theory now. Don't make it true. But in theory, it'll come off. Now, the first thing I want to do, though, is find my release here for the tilt. And I want to go up with the tilt. Okay. I was going to go up and let it release, but this acts like it wants to do it right here. So I need to put this back together because of the wire. You want to have enough slack with the wire to allow you to be able to pull the whole thing over. And that's why I'm temporarily halfway putting it back together, in case you're wondering, why is he putting it together? Well, that's why. So that wire won't be long enough if I just leave it like it is right now. So I've got to put it together enough to walk that out of there. Alright, so now, come on. Come on, be nasty. You ain't gonna do it. What's missing? I know about the shifter, I mean the light thing here, the high and low beam, but what else is missing? What are you hanging up on up here? Shouldn't be hanging on anything. See what we got here. Okay, now for the fun part. This high and low beam piece. Along with everything else for that matter, but I really don't have to take it all the way off, but I'm probably going to anyway. Okay. There we go. Got that out of there. Alright. I don't have to take it off because here's what I'm after. So I may not take it off. These 4 bolts right here. See how loose they are? Them need to be tightened up. That's why I'm trying to go in here. And I can actually get to them without taking it off. So I'll probably be better just to do it that way, since this one is determined to be stubborn. Now, I don't have the exact tool for that. Jeez, that one's not even bolted up. Man, no wonder this thing was having such a hard time. Okay, so what I've got to do is find the closest thing I have to that in the regular socket. And that is a 1/4 inch. Now, what I'm going to do in my ever quest to pretend I know what I'm doing is I am going to find my Loctite stuff. Here we go. Blue Loctite, people. Blue Loctite. Great stuff. We're going to put a little bit on here. Oh, not that much, people. Not that much. You need to stop that. Alright. So I am going to try to get this thing started back again. Wish me luck. May not never be able to do it. That's what I'm going to try to do. Alright. Wow, really? Almost acts like they're stripped out. Surely not. Well, that one's in there. Don't really want to go any tighter with it because they're trying to strip out. Obviously, you don't want to deal with that. And I could just tighten them back up, but I'm going to try to put some Loctite on them. For obvious reasons, them things are loose. And you've seen what all we had to go through to get them here. Okay, I'm going to continue on like that. Put a little bit of Loctite on them. Put them back in there. Okay, I'm going to show you something here. This little piece right here, which has to line up with that tooth right there. It's got the big notch. That's easy enough to do. Now I'm taking a pair of pliers on the other side. See, there's the notch. But you hear it clicking? And then there's the starter part where it actually springs back. Well, what you have to do is down in here, there's a little nub that it has to go over. There's a rounded area on this part right here that has to go over that. It'll get on top of it instead when you're putting this together. Which will mean when you're doing this, the key isn't actually on the switch down there. So it'll turn on as far as the key turn on, but it won't click or anything because it ain't actually activating the switch. And you'll know it's wrong because it won't really turn all the way to the off position. It'll get right at it but not off. And surely no auxiliary. Because it's above the switch instead of on it. Okay? So you may have to do a little bit of finagling because you'll have to release it here, you know, to let it down, which is what releases your top up here. And kind of kick it sideways and stuff, enough to make that thing pop in. Like I say, you can test it before you go any further by this. Just doing that. Okay? So make sure you get that before you bother putting any of the rest of this together, because if you don't, you'll be taking it back apart more likely. And also make sure that you get this back up in there. Okay? And you don't have to literally take all this out. You can walk this over that if need be. Okay? Alright. Okay, then you put these pins back in. Tap them up a little bit with a hammer. You can finish them off with a socket on them or something so they flush out. Do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so that's ready. Be sure you put the pins back in it. Wouldn't be worth having if you didn't do that now, just remember that. Okay. So you put your spring in, make sure your end's still on there, like that. Alright, put the cap on it. Make sure it's on the ball down there. And then, this takes a little more muscle. You take a Phillips or a flathead. Use both hands. push it in there, turn it a little bit clockwise, about an eighth really, you'll feel it notch out. And it's in there. That's your spring that lets your steering wheel up. Alright. Back to what I was doing before I so rudely interrupted myself. Okay. Which was putting this on. Need to get some of that grease down in there where it should be holding it. Yeah, the grease acts like a glue in there, which is a good thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and level this out. Well, this is easier to do. So this is your high and low beam. This right here, this little angle, this piece right here rides on the top of that. So what we've got to do is get it in there, sitting on top of that. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. Get out of there. See, it still ain't on it. Okay, we got to keep working with it. Come on, get on there. If you don't get it on there, it ain't gonna work. Alright. It's on that part. Now, to help it hold in there, I'm going to check it first. Alright, it's clicking the switch down there. That'll help it on there now. I'm going to put the tilt rod back in it. It's not to catch all the end all, but it's something. Still working. Alright, we're good there. Come on now. Nothing stopping you. Why ain't you going? That is odd, because it should be going. Oh, I know what it is. It's that very thing I'm trying to put in. It has to go over into the notch over here. So you have to reach through and get it. I know you really can't see this happening on the screen here, but this little piece right here behind it, see it move down there? Well, that piece will get behind this part, won't let this go back down in there. So that's what I was moving. So now we've got that back in there. Now, just to make everything happy for a moment, I'm going to put a bolt in it. Well, that's what I say anyway. Oh, excuse me. I lose my pen there. That wouldn't be good at all. Alright, here we go. Get in there. Now, that was one of these, I remember. I think it was this one. Wasn't that one? This one? Yeah. I actually have a big set of these, the regular drivers, but not in my little tool bag there. Should have got it. Okay, this is just to hold it in there while I tinker with the other stuff. Okay. Now we get to play with the spring. Well, I say that, I'll find it. There it is. Now, this little booger could be a pain because the way this works, there's a tiny little switch right in here that touches and like that. I don't know if you can see it, but right in there there's a tiny switch and this part touches it in there. It's supposed to anyway. And that works off the ignition going in. Like this part right here. Okay? So, this is what causes it to beep when you still got the key in it. This little bugger right here hits it right there. But there is a spring in here as well. That holds it in there like that. So you have to get that spring in there with it. So a lot of times when you pull this out, this plastic piece, this will stay inside the housing in there. So you've got to get it back in there. Oh man, I forgot to show you the other part. I got so wrapped up in showing you that I didn't show you the other part. Okay, like I say, that touches, this has to hold on there. So if you ever wonder where that clip goes, that's where it goes. But make sure that you put the other part in first, because this bolt is behind that clip. It can be done, you can work on it without doing this, but it's better if you do this part as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm putting that in. Okay, now go ahead and just finish walking them other things in there. No point in not doing it. So let me go ahead and do that, folks. Man, I really should have just went and got my regular tool. It'd be a whole lot less time consuming. Make this video a lot shorter for you. Wouldn't have to watch me do my ugly performance here. Alright folks, putting our blinker switch part back on. Got 3 screws. Okay. Before I go any further, I know I still got that one screw left. I'm going to try to line this up. It's got a little groove down in there you got to get in. You know how it is. Got to get it in the groove. That's what I'm trying to do. Now, what's getting me, the only screw I see is this one. Seems awful big to be going in there. We'll find out. And then this is the last one that we didn't get a while ago out of those three. The reason I get it, because I needed some wiggle room, which I wouldn't have, but just to be on the safe side. Let me loosen these up just to make sure that everything is walking right with that one. Now you're not trying to tighten these down blistering tight. You gotta remember this is plastic you're dealing with. Plastic break easy. Okay, so that's that. Now, don't forget the I'm gonna put the spring on there while I'm sitting here looking at it. Don't forget the hazard. Remember, some of them don't have it, but this one has a little spring that goes in there, so make sure you get the spring in it. It's kind of a useless feature, but it's there. Okay, on that right there is normal. That's not broke. That's the way they do it at the factory for whatever reason. Now this right here was broke. You know, you got to push in latch to make the wire attach. Well, this will go through the steering wheel, so I can leave it attached. But I just took a Dremel on the other side that was still available and cut it down and made a little new notch. This tape is just a little bit of extra support. It doesn't have to be there at all. It's just fall back. So you put this on. Like I say, this thing has a groove it has to get in to fit right. There it is. Now, this little clip that has to go back on. As you know, there's a pressure thing that you can put on there to make it work. You want to double and triple check everything's back in place by the time before you do this, by the way. Okay, putting it back on is a little more frustrating than taking it off, because I wasn't able to do the same trick as easy, so I had to find a piece of metal that had a little angle in it. You can take one and cut it out yourself, but and then I use the sockets under it, as you can see, and it's working fine. Now I've got to walk this down there into this little groove and we'll be good. Okay, it's in there. It's in the groove. Tighten it up a little bit more just to verify for sure. Yep, it's in the groove. Try to do a little wiggle on it. Now I'll loosen that back up. We'll know for sure when we do that. Okay. There we go. Now, put this clip on there. Seems to have an awful lot of play for it to be on there. But it is what it is. And there it is, it's on there. And then we simply reattach the horn. Whether it'll work or not, who knows? I'm going to walk it all the way around because it's got too much slack. Alright, there we go with that. We got 3 screws that hold that on. Dig them out. Okay, let's find the socket that fits them. And put them in. Final result. Of course, there's no power, so the horn and all is not going to work, but she's tight.